Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ethos Online. Again, this is a space where we can be, belong, and become the very best version of ourselves. And so, wherever you're joining us, whether you're on your couch, again, you're driving, you're in a small group of people watching this. I know we've got some people in Colorado doing the same thing. We're so happy to have you here. And so, as a group of individuals coming together collectively, I want to invite you to find different ways to support what we're doing. And so there's some links below. You can actually donate to Ethos, this whole thing, tax-deductible donations. You can share these videos. You can do all those sorts of things. We would just love to keep partnering with you. And so today we continue moving through this really beautiful compilation of poems, story, wisdom teachings, analogies, metaphor, all of it we have in this book called Genesis, right? The word meaning origins, the beginnings of things. And again, for this group, the tribal beginnings for them, where their tribe came from. Again, this is a complete picture of Israel, right? And again, for all of us, we would even look at this journey and say, interesting, I can see my own journey in this. Right? We see times where we've kind of made some poor decisions and we go into exile. And after a while, it gets so bad we start to cry out. And in the crying out, we take steps toward restoration, rebuilding, and the cycle goes like this, right? From death to resurrection. Spring, fall, winter, spring again, right? Into summer. It's beautiful. It's all part of life. And so for Israel, this is what the book of Genesis really is. And so to recap, it's so important to remember the context of this book, when it was written, why it's written. So again, we have to remember that this group of people, they didn't have writings yet. And so in Babylon, right, in 587 BC, the Babylonians step in. They do what the Babylonian Empire does, right? They dominate, they destroy, they take over tribes, they cause them to have to assimilate into what the Babylonians do. This is Babylon, right? Everywhere Babylon goes, they create chaos. Yeah, if you're not a Babylonian, of course. And so, of course, they step in, they destroy their Hebrew people's temple. They take their people, march them hundreds of miles on foot until they get to Babylon. And when they get to Babylon, the question is, how long until we lose our story? Right? How long until we all begin to assimilate? Because that's what they're doing. That's what they're seeing. Their kids are forgetting the stories. Their kids are forgetting the recipes, right? They're forgetting their identity. And so the question is, are we going to assimilate or are we going to hold on? And so the way they hold on, of course, is they write Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. They write these down. They put them in these scrolls, right? And again, it's not made up of a history. It was never meant to be a historical document, right? We do that. We do that today. We create dates and we set the most detailed descriptions of what really happened. We call that history, right? But Israel was not writing history. They were writing the stories that were passed down that gave them identity. And again, that's why Genesis, again, is a compilation of narrative, poetic musings, prophetic leaders standing up and saying, look, here's some warnings. If we choose to go this direction, this is what will happen. That's Genesis. It is not history, right? And so Torah is a complete narrative of Israel miniaturized. Yeah. So every time you see a story, whether it's the story of Joseph, Abraham, Moses, all of these individuals, whether you believe they were real or not, these individuals are there to remind Israel, this is who we are, right? And these are the warnings and the challenges and the hope messages that are going to get us through Babylonian exile. That was the point. And it's beautiful. And so we discussed Genesis 1. And we're only going to do a recap of Genesis 1 a couple more times till we step fully into 2. But if you remember, Genesis 1 is really all about this God stepping into the chaos, not creating chaos like Babylon's gods, stepping into the chaos, clearing space like the good busboy, right? Clearing space off the table. And then once there's space created, filling the space with good things. That's the idea here. And so Genesis 1, any Hebrew knows this. Genesis 1 is a poem. Genesis 1, if you were to go back and read this in the Hebrew, you would see rhythm, you would see rhyme, right? Almost sound like Cool Runnings, right? Rhythm, feel the rhyme. It's bobsled time. Yeah. It's rhythm. It's got the poetic stanzas, the couplets, all of it there. Again, you know this if you know Hebrew. Again, we read this from a 21st century stance, and it's a different view of reading it. When you look back, you realize this is poetry. It's not history. Now, when you step into Genesis 2, we step away from poetry and we actually move into something called narrative, right? And narrative back then was not someone writing their great classic, Ulysses or Pride and Prejudice, whatever. It was not that. That's not what narrative was then. Narrative was when the elder says to the kids, hey, I got a story. And the kids all lean in, right? They get around the campfire and the elder will tell a story. And usually the story, if you think about like grandpa's stories, right? Father's stories, mom's stories, the stories they tell about their past, usually they'll tell it at a point when there's a lesson to be learned. Yeah. You ate too much and you got sick. Oh, I remember, right? The story comes out. And usually those stories, there are some interesting additions added to the stories, right? The fish was this big and before you know it, it was this big. And did you know grandpa caught a whale? Yeah, this is what happens with the stories, right? These are stories told around the campfire. That's what the narrative for the Hebrew meant, not literal history. And that's why, again, many people will get caught up in this, right? They'll look at Genesis 1 and then they'll look at Genesis 2. And they'll notice that there are obvious differences between the two, right? And if it's history, then yeah, which one do you choose, right? Genesis 1, look at our graph. Man and woman are created at the same time, right? Genesis 2, however, God creates man first, then later creates woman. Yeah, so which is it, right? Interesting. God creates earth, right? The heavens, vegetation, animals, everything in it before he creates man. And yet, when you look at Genesis 2, man is created first, right? And again, like, how is man going to survive without the sun, the earth, air, right? These are all things like scientifically, we would ask questions of that today. But the Hebrews back then, when they're writing these stories, they're not even aware of like the importance of what air is and H2O, all of these different elements. They're not aware of those things. They still think up there is water and down here is water, and what's in between, that's where we function and live. That's the view they had. So again, not literal history. If you look at the two together and you begin comparing, they're not going to add up because they were never intended to. One is poetry, one is narrative. One is going to be more focused on who their God is, right, in chapter 1. Genesis 2, you begin to have the emphasis more on man and man's purpose. And so when you can kind of see the difference, you don't have to throw these books out, right? Many people, this is stupid, they don't connect. No, not the point. There's so much beauty here. One is a reference toward what the God does, steps into the chaos, brings order. That divine picture is what we are to be headed toward and emulate. Chapter 2 is man. What man does, man's function in the world, right? What we're called to be in the world. It's really rather beautiful. So, let's step into it. We talked about Shabbat last week. Now we talk about Genesis 2, 4 through 8. And this is a mediocre section, right? And I think we can handle it pretty easily today. So here we go. These are the generations of heavens and earth when they were created, on the day that the Lord God made earth and the heaven. Now no tree of the field was yet on the earth, neither did any herb of the field yet grow, because the Lord God had not brought rain upon the earth, and there was no man to work the soil. The mist ascended from the earth and watered the entire surface of the ground. So again, notice that we're not getting nutrients from the air, right? The water above, it's coming up from the ground. That's the idea there. And the Lord God formed man of dust from the ground, and he breathed into his nostrils the soul of life. And man became a living soul. And the Lord God planted a garden in Eden from the east, and he placed there the man whom he had formed. So, I love doing this. We're going to go verse by verse, and I'm just going to show you interesting concepts, especially connecting to the Hebrew understanding of the verse. So here we go. These are the generations. Many people will say right there, generations. See, it's a generational thing. It's a history book. No, it's not the point. The word here actually means stories. Yeah, so right from the get-go, it's a reminder, these are the stories, right? These are the stories of how our tribe came to be. These are the stories of who we are, where we're heading, what we've done, reminders of the past. These are the stories. And again, if you think of your own life and your own family unit, when you sit around the dining room table, stories just come out. It's what they do. We talk, we tell our identity through our stories. That's why like podcasts like The Moth and storytelling seminars and all that, that's why they're so popular. That's why a speaker will get up and they won't just give you facts, charts, graphs. They will tell stories. A good speaker is going to tell stories because stories draw us in. And so sit back, think about this. The elder is sitting there at the campfire and he says this, all right, y'all, let me tell you a story. It's a story of how we came to be. Come with me for a minute. I'm going to tell you a story. That's how this opens, and everyone just draws in. And so I would argue right now, or I would even ask of you, draw in, because here's the story. Here it is. Now no tree of the field was yet on earth, neither did any herb of the field yet grow, because the Lord God had not brought rain upon the earth, and there was no man to work the soil. So catch this. In order for life to happen, in order for creation to continue, right? In order for there to be growth, vegetation, life more abundantly, guess what you need in the formula? Again, so fascinating. In order, and again, very different emphasis from Genesis 1. In order for there to be life fully, man must be present. Yeah, it kind of puts a really interesting emphasis on man. And again, when I say man, mankind, men, woman, everybody, right? In order for there to be life and growth, change, movement, you must have man, humans, mankind. And so think about this. When we tear down every tree there is, when we squeeze every single natural resource out of the earth, right? When we jump into a city or an empire and we take, right? When we exploit our children, our resources, our communities, rather than giving, we are actually going against the very nature that we were created to be, if you want to use that word created. Yeah, when we do these things, when we destroy, when we hurt, when we tear down, we move against the very nature, the very fabric of what it means to be human. Because to be human means to bring life everywhere you go. Yeah. It's so good. So let me keep going. And a mist ascended from the earth and watered the entire surface of the ground. Now, most people, when they hear about mist, they're going to skip right over this verse. Right? This doesn't sound very interesting. Okay, they believe that like the mist is what? Yeah, because I guess there was no rain. Got it. Next. But watch this. One rabbi, I love this. This is really fascinating to me. He says this, we are reminded in the mist that blessings don't always come from high above, but at our feet. I want to just stop there for a moment. Think about this. Our posture even during like prayer or when we're crying out to the divine, what are we doing? Yeah, we're looking up, right? We're always thinking the blessings come from above, right? Everything takes place up there. But here's what this rabbi is saying. The mist is a reminder that the blessings, the majority of the time, you're not going to find them up there. It's going to be right here at your feet. Everywhere your feet go, those blessings, life is happening all around us. It's just a matter of retrospect. It's just a matter of perspective. Yeah, so let me continue. Life forms all around us. Sometimes, rather than looking to the lofty clouds, we need to only consider where our feet tread, the dew that forms. These blessings are the day-to-day life. Take a picture of that. beautiful. And we'll delve into that more. But the mist right here for the Hebrews was a beautiful constant reminder. These blessings are everywhere if we'll just look long enough. Yeah, so good. We'll keep going. And the Lord God formed man from the dust of the earth. So, form man. Again, if you take this literally, right, with the scientific knowledge we have now, it gets a little bit weird, right? You see this picture of this God taking literal dirt, forming it, and like, whew, there you are, right? Kind of odd, different. Could the divine somehow do that? I'm sure, right? Maybe. But look at the deeper metaphor here. Again, there's something beautiful just below the surface that we miss. And so here it is. Adama. Again, the word Adama, Adam. That's where the word Adam comes from. Adama meant dirt, meant ground, it meant soil. And so Adam is a reminder of dirt. Seems simple, seems kind of self-explanatory, but get this. God toils the earth, creates life, right? In the beginning. Now we're reminded that so too will Adam. In his very identity, the very fabric of who he is to toil, to struggle with the dirt in order to create life. If there's no struggle, if there's no toil, there is no life. So to be a human, Adama, is to struggle, right? You are filled with not just divine light, but also dirt. So next time someone calls you a dirt bag, you can be like, well, theologically, you're correct. Because again, we're filled with both, right? And so that divine spark is also mixed with this dirt struggle. And that is good according to the Bible. That's what it means to be human. Yeah, filled with both. Fascinating. It keeps going. We'll keep moving into this breath and dirt idea. He breathed into his nostrils the soul of life, and man became a living soul. Now, if you read the Hebrew scriptures long enough, you're going to pick up a lot of these connections to breath, right? When Moses, he goes to the burning bush, yeah? He goes to the burning bush, and this God begins to speak. For the Hebrews, what they believed is God didn't say, I am Moses. When Moses said, who are you? What is this? The English is I am. The Hebrew is this. Yeah, breath. Think about this. If the name of God, the divine, is breath, then again, the minute you're born, you take your first breath. Yeah, you breathe. You say the name of the divine. What's the last thing you do? Yeah, you breathe your last breath. Everything is so connected. The divine, when people say, where is God? I don't feel God, right? I don't feel connected to God anymore. This story screams out, God couldn't be any closer to you. In the very breath you breathe, it's a reminder of the miraculous mystery, right? The divine happening all around us daily. Even the very breath you breathe is a constant reminder of this. Think about breath for a little bit longer. Breathing, just for a second. A healthy person, they are going to take 15 breaths a minute. So I want you to do this while you're watching. I want you to just close your eyes. Breathe in and just hold it for like 2 seconds. And then breathe out. Do this some more. Don't stop breathing, right? Some of you have been breathing 45 times a minute. You are so anxious. You have not stopped to just take a breath. A normal person who is not filled with anxiety, fear, freaking out all the time, they're breathing 15 times a minute. And it's a slow, relaxed pace. Just some of you breathing right now, taking that breath, you just relax for the first time in a very long time, just because you stopped to breathe. Yeah. When someone is breathing well, they enable their respiratory systems to clear waste. Yeah. So when you're breathing out, you're expelling waste, like carbon dioxide from your blood, all these different things. You're breathing them out. And so think about this. When you're not breathing well, you're actually not getting rid of toxins. You're holding toxins in. The shallow breathing doesn't enable you to actually breathe those things out very well. And notice this, the average volume of oxygen breathed in and absorbed in a minute is 0.5 liters. So again, 12 minutes, quite a bit of liters, right? When you go to 24 hours, you're breathing in so much air when you're breathing correctly. That life-sustaining air, and you're also breathing out, right? You're breathing out that many toxins. But look at this. Breathing, the act of just breathing out, removes over 74% of toxins in the body. So most of us will say, yeah, I go to the commode. That's where I'm going to get rid of most of my waste. I might, go that direction. I might sweat it out. Those are probably the ways that I get rid of waste the most. Well, no. The majority of waste that's built up in the body, again, the toxins, you are removing 74% of those through breathing. So if you are not breathing correctly, if you're holding that in, if you're shallow breathing, you're taking in toxins and they are slowly killing you. Now think about your own life. The things that you are anxious about, the things that you perseverate over, and you let it stay here inside of you and you don't find an avenue to get them out, those things like the carbon dioxide, the toxins in our blood, those things just like those are literally causing our body to get worse and worse, more and more unhealthy. And I would argue on a spiritual plane, the same thing happens. We have to have a way to expel that stuff. We bring in the good, we take out the bad. And it is such a spiritual action. It's beautiful. Let's keep going. And the Lord God planted a garden in Eden from the east, and he placed there the man whom he had formed. Again, every little detail like this, the east, the west, you will notice over and over again in the Hebrew scriptures, east is a really important direction. Notice this. It's in the east where you have Eden. But you'll find over and over again, there are characters in the Bible, whenever they step away from the divine, whenever they choose to go the wrong direction, you're going to notice something. And I'll bring it up now. I'll bring it up more later. But you'll notice they move away from the east. Yeah, they step away from the east. They actually go west. Fascinating? Yeah, over and over again, you'll find this. They'll move, not west. They'll go east, right? They'll move away from Eden. That's the idea. Directions are important. So to move away east is to move away from Eden. That's the bigger picture here. You'll see this over and over again. Let me give you a little more. And the Lord God planted a garden in Eden from east, and he placed there a man whom he formed. So the whole picture here of this God interacting with man is that there is so much beauty, but also potential with man. Remember, when Jesus chooses, when he leaves earth, he doesn't say, all right, you're screwed, you're on your own, right? Hey, I gave you a lot of good things, now live it. He says, no, you will do greater things. Because apparently, according to Jesus, to be human is to be filled with exceptional potential. And everywhere man goes, there should be life springing forth. It's what mankind does, or at least it's in our DNA to do. Sometimes we fight hard against it. Yeah. And so every day we have reminders of this Eden. Every day. Of these miraculous blessings that we have. And we're not only to help bring life everywhere, but we also brought life by the things and the blessings all around us. Those abundant things, they are there. We just have to open our eyes to them. And that's what I love about this section in this chapter. It's beautiful, right? Over and over again, if we would stop and look and be reminded of the goodness. People keep saying the world's getting worse and worse and worse. Well, in some ways it gets better and better and better. It's just how you choose to view it. And if you choose to live in blessing, blessings seem to naturally follow, right? Blessings naturally seem to follow. It's like a positive person. A positive person is positive, right? Every once in a while they'll hit roadblocks, but for the majority of the time, they're always positive. Positive things continue to happen. When you live in that life and in that kind of light, we see over and over again, it follows. I want you to think about this. We live in a world right now of scarcity, or I should say, it's how people view the world, right? Many people want to just take. I got to get mine, right? If you do well, that means I may not do well, right? If you get the big bonus, that means I didn't get the bonus. And so we get really focused on this idea of scarcity. There's not enough blessings to go around, so get what you can while you can, right? And we live in that kind of culture today. There's a story that Jesus told, and it goes like this. The prodigal son, you've heard it over and over again. I'm not going to read it to you. Basically, son chooses to waste the inheritance father gave. He blows it on a bunch of things that are very un-Jewish, right? He ends up with a pig, all these different symbols. He comes home, and the father rejoices, celebrates, and gives the son blessings. But notice this, because again, the story was really not directed toward the son. The son is not who the Jewish people were saying, oh yeah, we get the son, we understand the son like many of us do today when we read it. No. Jesus was telling the story because he was pointing, you Pharisees, you Jewish people, you are like the eldest son. The eldest son is actually the point of the story, because the eldest son, when he sees the good things that the prodigal is given, he is angry, he's jealous. And it says, when the father invites him into the celebration, he does not go. He sits there, and while the party's going on, he's doing this. And so, literally, the idea of hell is to be at a party and not participating, according to this story, right? That's what many of us do. We get so caught up, we miss the blessings all around us. There is a party going on. People are dancing, they're enjoying life, and we're sitting there and we're missing it because it's all about me, right? This is the beautiful picture in Genesis. Man, to be mankind, to be human, is to enjoy, participate, and bring life to everything we touch. Again, for me, I used to be in that place of scarcity. I used to be constantly weighing what this person did and this person did and trying to do the very best I could to grab whatever I can. But that's not a way to live. When you live that way, you stop breathing. You stop being human. You stop participating in goodness. The beautiful thing is blessings are everywhere. I like this. We just need positive thoughts to notice them. We just need to stop and take notice of what's going on. And then not only that, we need to, unlike the prodigal, the eldest son, we need to step into the celebration and join in. Join in, partake in what's going on, help plant, grow, become part of the whole thing. When we do, we live life fully, more abundantly. We begin to be human again. So that was fun. I always like to add a little bit more of like, how do you do this? What do we do? How can we take it home? And so here's what I want you to do today. And I think this is really helpful, and maybe even just throughout the rest of your week. Many of you guys join on Saturdays and Sundays. Maybe take this and begin living this week. Try some of these things out. Number one is this: write a short list of the positive blessings, the good things in your life right now. I think sometimes we kind of forget, right? One negative thing will happen, and it'll kind of remove all the other good things. You've heard that before, right? If someone gives you a negative comment, like online or whatever, you will forget all the hundreds of positive comments. It's just the way that our mind has been trained to think, right? The one negative will ruin our day. Well, maybe take time and think about the positive, good things in your life right here, right now. Write them down. Write them down. Just take a minute, right? Write them down. See what comes up. You might even be surprised at how many things are on this list. Number two, take a few minutes in meditation and prayer. Thank God for these blessings. And again, however you pray or meditate, that's up to you. right? Some of us do this very differently. It might just be sitting there, being thankful, considering those things and saying, I am just so grateful for the things I have. Again, doing that as a practice actually does some interesting things to your brain. You will make new neural connections by doing this, putting it to practice. Try it, test it out. You'll see. It's worked for me. Yeah, I wish I did this every day. I probably need to. Number 3, now consider your friends who have experienced positive actions and blessings. Take time to be grateful for them as well. Yeah, I misspelled there. No, the word is now. So again, consider your friends, because I think sometimes we don't celebrate with our friends when good things happen like we should. Right? Leo, he's in the room. Leo does all the different sound and video stuff with me. He's probably cringing right now that I'm talking about him. But Leo lost a bunch of weight. He's getting really healthy and all of that. And when he told me, first thing that popped through my head, Leo, was crap, I'm a fat booty. I need to get my crap together. I need to lose my weight. But the truth is, we should be celebrating every time something positive happens to friends, community, family. We should find ways to celebrate together, rejoice with them. Don't make it about you, because it's not. Right? So think about some of your friends. Take time to be grateful for them as well. Be grateful with them. Consider telling them about your feelings of gratitude for their blessing. Leo, I'm so glad that you are getting healthy, right? These are things that we can do as a family and a community and friends. Hey, you're healthy. Instead of taking them out to cheesecake and trying to fatten them up like you, you go out for a smoothie or something. I don't know. But you find ways to connect with friends and thank them and participate in the celebration because they've had good things happen to them. When you can do that, you don't live in scarcity. You don't put up walls between people. You actually create really beautiful bridges and you celebrate together, which may even cause you to lose some weight as well. We'll see if that happens with me. Lastly, read Deuteronomy 28:2, James 1:17, and the prodigal son story, Luke 15:11 through 32. Find some time. Meditate on these verses. I found them really helpful. And again, you can choose to meditate on whatever you'd like, right? There are so many different wisdom writings out there. I found these 3 really deeply connected with what we talked about today. So maybe take some time, read these over, see what pops out at you. So I had a blast today. This was so much fun, just delving in. Again, we only cover 4 verses, but there is so much beauty and depth to this book. And so before finishing, let me remind you, Leo, I, Joe, a bunch of us, we do a lot of work to make this happen every week. The podcast, a lot of time and energy put into our live living room sessions, which last weekend was amazing. It was so fun. If you can join us, please email me, tonywerfel@gmail.com. I'd love to have you join us. So much beauty there whenever we meet together. We do a lot of stuff, and it takes resources. So please consider giving to ethos-church.org/donate. This is tax deductible. You got to put those deductions somewhere. Send them here. This is what we do with them. We put a lot of energy and time into this. These Ethos living room sessions, they are so much fun. Please consider doing that. And then lastly, hit subscribe. Right? We only get so many views here. We get views other places, but we'd love to have YouTube be another place where we get lots and lots of YouTube views. So share these with people, right? Make little copies, send them in emails, post them on social media. We think these videos have a chance to really make a difference in people's lives. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We love you. We love moving in this journey together. Thank you. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.